That's very, very interesting. That is very interesting. And I think that when he gets inside his zone, Nakatani might have difficulty when it comes down to it. But if you give him that distance, I think Nakatani has a lot of power. And he's a southpaw and he's taller. And I feel that Inoue has a lack of against southpaw. Those guys are there for a big reason, not just to win fights. They don't like each other,
Oh, really? I have to ask you because a lot of my channel followers are boxing fans, and we're Japan, we love Naoya Inoue. So I have to ask you about the Cardenas fight. I know you met him at some interview pre-fight, but were you at the arena as well?
Yes, I was there. And I watched the fight. Again, Inoue is very, very powerful, and sometimes complacency might be something that will slow him down. I mean, Nakatani is a really good fighter too, and I know that they're trying to set up the fight next year. So he has a lot on his hands, and he needs to keep getting better.
The knockdown Cardenas scored, I mean, everyone was shocked, but when you saw it live, what were your initial reaction?
To me, he looked like he took him lightly, and he just went there without any defense, and he got caught with a big shot. And when he went down, he was like, okay, I really got to pay attention. This guy can hit too. And I think that's when he started utilizing his ability, using the distance and using a little bit of feint here and there, and utilizing those power and not get hit with stuff in the back end.
So it was a consequence of him taking Cardenas a little bit lightly, and then he just caught.
So.
Right.
Yeah, I believe so. I think he was trying to take Cardenas out as early as he can, and he got caught with it.
Was that the same situation with Neri? What do you think?
With Neri, it was different because Neri was a southpaw. And I think this is something that he needs to really learn for himself, because Nakatani is a good fighter, and he's a southpaw, and he's taller. And I feel that Inoue has a lack of against southpaw from what I've seen.
Right.
Yeah, I believe that he doesn't have the experience against a southpaw, so it might be very difficult for him. For guys like Nakatani, I mean, this is how he got caught with Neri as well. But I mean, I could just be speculating, of course. This is a speculation for my part. But getting better is always the best key to all of it.
It's so true. So I guess in your perspective, Naoya Inoue might have a little bit of a disadvantage against long southpaws just at the moment.
At the moment, from my seat, it's going to be a tough fight, but they both got power. So Inoue can end fights like the way I can end fights, the way Nakatani can end fights. So it's going to be one of those kind of things that they have to be very, very aware and very, very focused, because both guys can hit.
Yeah, it can end in one shot, right, from either one of them.
Yeah.
Well, that's what kind of.
So, yeah, no, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say that's kind of what makes it an exciting fight.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I would say those guys are there for a big reason, not just to win fights. They don't like each other,
Oh, really? Is that how it comes off over there? That's interesting.
It seems like that, and that's what it seems like. But again, those guys can have power, and I think Inoue's power is more, I would say, stable in that sense, because he's shorter, and I think that when he gets inside his zone against a taller guy, the taller guy is going to be, Nakatani might have a difficulty when it comes down to it. But if you give him that distance, I think Nakatani has a lot of power, but that's, again, all speculation, because this is fun, right. And depends on how Inoue is going into this fight, because from what I hear, like, he wants to be done within 2 years or so, from what I hear. But that's where I was in 2011, 2012, I was like, I don't know, I think I'm done. After Nishioka, I said I was going to retire, and then they offered me a big amount of money against Arce and Rigondeaux, and that's that. I was like, I don't really care, And then when it was taken from me with Rigondeaux, I was like, I don't want to lose,
Right.
So stuff like that, But there's a lot of things in people's mind, in fighters' mind, especially if they're on top, that's it for them. It's like, I'm done with this. I got a lot of money already. I'm done. I'm okay. But we'll see. But I do believe that fight is going to be a good fight.
皆さんはノニとドネアのようにリングで殴り合うことはないけど、人生というリングで戦っています。元気よく長く頑張っていくために健康を大事にして微量栄養素を管理しないといけません。必要とする栄養を食事だけで摂取するのはとても難しいので、VITAS のモルティバイタミンでその問題をシンプルに解決しましょう。そして年齢を重ねていくほど自然にスタミナと筋量が減って肌の張りもなくなっていくので、タンパク質を十分取るのが非常に重要になっていきます。ジュースを飲んでる感覚でタンパク質を十分取りたい方は VITAS のプロテインをおすすめします。ボクシングに例えると VITAS のサプリメントはパウンド・フォー・パウンド No.1 なので、たくさんのトップアスリートに愛用されていて、もちろん僕も毎日利用しています。ハードにトレーニングしている方、または単純に健康を保持したい方は概要欄から VITAS をゲットしてください。
But I do believe that fight is going to be a good fight.
Right. Would you come watch it ringside if you were able to?
Yes, I would love to see that fight.
I think it's supposed to be in Tokyo Dome, which is a massive stadium. About 50,000 people will probably be there watching it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be a massive event. Hopefully it'll happen because, Naoya has to fight Akhmadaliev September.
Yes.
And hopefully he clears that, no problem. But, Akhmadaliev is a dangerous fighter too, right?
Is he a southpaw?
He's a southpaw, yes.
Okay, that's a good test for him. Knowing that the guy is still shorter compared to Nakatani, but he's still a southpaw and gives him a good look. But the guy is a tough guy. He has a lot of experience in amateurs. He's a former world champion in that division, and he's hungry. Mm-hmm. He's hungry to beat Inoue. Mm-hmm. He's hungry to beat Naoya, and that's what makes this fight an entertaining one because southpaw, hungry, and has nothing to lose.
I also believe Cardenas' trainer, Joel Diaz, is the same trainer for Akhmadaliev.
Oh, wow.
So it's a little bit of an interesting drama thing happening there.
That's very, very interesting. That is very interesting. I think that they feel that they know the blueprint to beat Naoya, or at least to land big shots. So we'll see. But I think Naoya is going to be a lot more faster and stronger than or a level above MJ.
What do you think about Naoya's fighting style? Because he is also, like you, very aggressive, but he doesn't really need to fight like that. Is kind of what the Japanese mainstream fans think. He can outbox, just jab, move, hit, and point fight. But he kind of chooses to put on a show out of his own free will.
I think that's the best version that you can have with him. Jabbing and moving like that, I believe that he's limited to what he is capable of, because for him, he's quick, he's fast, but there's limited in the way he stands and the way he moves his legs, and the way he punches, he has to come forward. So to box would limit from executing his full potential. That's what I believe watching him. I think the way he's fighting right now, with which he comes in, I believe is his best way of fighting.
It's the best style for him.
Yes.
He just has to, I guess, not take his opponents lightly. It's kind of the problem.
Yeah, not get caught with something. Yeah, exactly. Not get caught with stuff and set up like he usually does. He sets things up and not just run to things, and you get guys who counters or who's not afraid of him will punch along with them. The guys that he knocked out were afraid of him, that they weren't willing to punch with him. And it can be very dangerous, but you'll get some guys who will punch with him and sometimes they get caught with it, But I believe that's his best way of fighting is being aggressive.
Right. It's true. I think ever since he's moved up to super bantam, we've been seeing more opponents be able to stand their ground against him.
Well, that's what it is when you move up in weight, man. They get bigger and bigger and tougher, you know? So if he's planning to move up in 126, I mean, that's a very heavier weight class, and they can take a lot more punishments.
Yes. It's very interesting how before the Cardenas knockdown, the Japanese fans were all about him going up to featherweight. And probably he can take all the belts there too. And, you know, we kind of like had that little plan in our heads. But ever since the Cardenas knockdown, everyone's like, let's wait a little.
Calm down.
Let's wait a little bit here.
Yeah. I mean, there is a difference moving up in weight, you know, especially for him who is he's not taller. So there's a lot of limited space in his punches in terms of like getting smothered. And the bigger guys are going to smother your punches. They got wider body. I remember when I fought Carl Frampton, none of my punches would work until I got him with the left hook. But it was very difficult because his body was so wide. A lot of the shots were getting smothered, you know, so I had to figure out ways to do it. That's something that he will learn as he moves up. And I think he's understanding it as well, that the bigger guys are going to be able to take a lot of the bigger shots.
That's interesting. But in that sense, Nakatani Junto has to go up a weight class from now too. So how would that fare? Would he look better there? Or, I mean, the opponents are going to be able to take his shots better.
Yeah, but Junto is a taller guy, and he will realize for himself too that these guys can take better shots, you know? Right. You know, especially if they're shorter Mexican style, they can take shots, man. Those guys can take hard shots, and they're tough. They're going to keep coming at you.
I think Nakatani's supposed to fight Cardenas, his former opponent, for his debut.
Yeah.
Is what I think is
That's right.
planned.
That's right. Yes, I've seen that one, yeah.
That's a very interesting, exciting fight as well.
Yes, I think that Nakatani should land his straight a lot in this fight because of the way Cardenas positioned himself, and because Nakatani is taller too.
He is very tall and long. I can't believe he was a flyweight at one point. He's massive.
Right, very tall, very, very tall.
He has a very
skinny. He's a skinny guy.
Sorry?
Yeah, but he's a skinny guy.
Yes. I guess super bantamweight, it's possible to say that's his best weight class. I mean, that would fit his frame the most.
I think so.
What do you feel was your best weight class?
Right now, I would say the bantamweight right now is the best weight class for me because I can cut down the weight and I'm not suffering, but then I can gain enough weight where I'm comfortable. You know, so it's if I'm at 122 to 26, I don't gain that much weight because I'm too skinny, you know, and I don't have to cut so much weight at that. But 18, I have to cut down more weight, but I'm comfortable with it. But at the same time, I gain enough weight that I'm comfortable with it too.
Right. So bantamweight is for your frame the best, and for you the best. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's one thing I wanted to ask you. We were talking about southpaws and Naoya Inoue, but were you comfortable against southpaws? Are you comfortable against southpaws?
Yes, I'm comfortable against southpaws. You know, there's a lot of technique to understand, and a lot of it depends on how the southpaw fights. There's ways to beat them. There's ways to fight them, but it's all positioning because southpaws and orthodox, their feet are like together. You know, so it's always positioning, how to position yourself properly according to how the guy fights.
That's good to hear. I think there's a lot of southpaw bantamweight fighters over here.
That's good. That's good. I love it. I love it. There's a lot of ways to fight guys that are southpaws, you know, but you have to be very brave or very courageous when it comes down to it, because sometimes the headbutts are there, the elbows are there, this and this and that. But if you don't really care too much about it, you're going to land those big shots. First.
Is it just the positioning that just makes the heads clash when it's a southpaw versus orthodox?
Yeah, positionings. and sometimes the way the fighter moves, like if they're leaning to make a miss and then they're leaning in the same side, they're gonna most likely butt head, So there's a lot of that stuff that's happening in southpaws and stuff.
Right. I believe you were fighting in the southpaw stance for a little bit in your latest fight.
Yes, I wanted to do a little bit of it, just put more experience into the southpaw, and I'm very comfortable with it. I just wanted to try it. Yeah, again, I like to experiment and how I can get myself better and stuff like that, but I felt strong on it, but I just wanted to try something different and then go back to it and then come in and out of it. You know what I mean?
Was that the first time in your career that you fought in a southpaw stance?
No, when I fought a lot of times in the southpaws, but just like a little bit here and there switching.
Right.
But there was one fight, I think it was the Tyson Marquez fight in Puerto Rico, where I think the fifth round I fought in southpaw. But I wasn't comfortable then as I am now. But I think I did 5 rounds of that in that fight.
Wow. Okay. Do you recommend boxers to train both stances?
Now that the way I am now, I would prefer them to be comfortable in one stance because it's easy to master one technique first, one side first, rather than be awkward about things, And then if you want to and you feel like you can, then you can switch. But, depends on your talent, I guess.
Right. Case by case.
Right.
There are some fighters that are switched, like they switch in between their combinations. I think one of the Tsumi is along those lines. Is that a little bit harder to deal with because it's kind of hard to train for someone like that?
No, not so much because it's all positioning. Like for me, I see movements of your feet and your shoulder and your hips, and that's what I gauge everything from. So if you're gonna make a step in your other side and you switch, you're most likely gonna get caught with something really big, because sometimes it might be expected, so, but because they square up and then they make that step that it's not proper, so they open themselves up for a big counter.
Right. It's very interesting. Sorry, I want to be respectful for your time because I feel like I'm just gonna talk forever. I have this line open chat group where a bunch of martial art fans join. It's kind of a martial arts community, and I announced that you're gonna come on the channel, and I said if there's any questions you would like to ask, please put it in here. And then obviously there's just on this line, so I kind of pulled out some of the questions from there. Is it okay if I ask you a couple of those?
Yeah, go for it.
There were rumors that you will fight Casimiro, but is there any truth to this?
I don't even really want to waste my breath on that guy. Dealing with those guys, they're just a bunch of idiots.
Big thanks to Nonito and Rachel for taking the time to do this interview. 最後まで見てくれた皆さん、本当にありがとうございます。そのチャンネルの登録ボタンをスマッシュしてください。いいねボタン、それもスマッシュしてください。We'll see you again soon. またお会いしましょう。バイバイ。